Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 21. Red Bull Ring Austria is upon us for round 12 of this Moto3 career mode, and I can't wait. So here we are in one of my most favourite tracks, the Red Bull Ring of Austria, and unfortunately it is raining quite heavily actually. The heavens have opened and is soaking this Husqvarna, but for the time being we have had a pretty interesting time in the wet, so I'm kind of positive that it's going to be a wet practice session. Not sure if it's going to be wet qualifying, and we certainly don't know if it's going to be a wet race. Of course, wet makes things ever so interesting, and of course just a couple of days ago we had our very first wet Moto3 race in real life, and that was in Le Mans, of course. Now into turn 3, trailing behind Stefano Nepper, of course in the Skull Tag Racing colours, right onto the rear of him. Hopefully we can get a bit of an extra boost here, because of course we are still utilising power setting 1. Now, of course, it has been announced that Grant will sign with the Petronas Sprinter Racing Team in Moto 2. He'll be joining forces with Xavi Vierge and fellow British rider Jake Dixon. Now, unfortunately, Stefano Nepper is actually holding me up instead of helping me out. But of course, moving up to Moto 2 next season means that we only have one chance now of getting the Moto 3 World Championship, so it's going to be all out now. Probably a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on Grant, but I'm pretty certain he'll cope very well because he has done already under magnificent and intense pressure for a rookie. So what I am curious to see whether we are going to need to do the actual development test in Moto 2. Now I have been doing the development test in Moto 3 simply because it's part of practice mode, but I haven't been upgrading anything. So I'm very curious to see in Moto 2, are we actually going to need to upgrade it, or can we just get away with using power setting 1 in that one? We'll soon find out as the championship unfolds next season. I cannot wait. I don't know when it'll start, but I'm not sure whether we are going to have the updated riders and bikes by then, but I guess we'll find out closer to the date. So that's a decent lap from Grant starting off already. He's now into 8th place, just 7.5 tenths behind Farad Izdihar. Of course, that is a magnificent practice result for him so far. He's the only man into the 42s, I do believe, and of course we didn't even get anywhere close to the 42s. But in power setting 1, in these treacherous conditions, if we can get into the top 10 for the practice sessions, I'd be quite happy with that. Of course, there are still quite a lot of riders around us, and as we mentioned about getting quite happy, that lap has been invalidated pretty much, and that will certainly not be an improvement. Big mistake going into turn 3, but if you are going to be making a mistake into turn 3, there's no better place to be making a mistake in free practice 1, 2 or 3. You don't want to be doing it in qualifying session, and you certainly don't want to be doing that within the race. So into turn 4, a very difficult and treacherous corner to get right. I would advise braking early and slowly trail brake into the corner. If you try and brake abruptly or try and chuck the weight onto one side, you'll probably have a bad time. Now taking a look on the left hand side of the screen there, John Mcphee, the Petronas Sprinter racer in Moto 3, he is doing a grand job, and he looks to be probably going very close to the top of the timing, so we just lose him on the left hand side there as I got demoted down to 12th place. So we'll see how he gets on in this session. And of course qualifying coming up very, very soon. So free practice will continue a bit longer until I get some decent laps in, and then we'll jump it across to qualifying. And of course, if you're not aware, that I do the 2 videos per day for MotoGP's career mode. So this is the first one at 4 PM, hello. And the next one will be at 8 PM, so make sure you stay tuned, or if you come back later on to my YouTube channel and check out the rest of the Grand Prix. And of course, if you haven't subscribed already, now is a great time to do so, because we're just starting lap number 3, and we hope to improve this one and do a lot better than the 1:44.574 we just previously set. So going into turn 1, it looks like we've navigated turn 1 pretty well. I think turn 1 is quite an easy corner to make. When we first started playing this, and I can't remember what year it first came, was it 2015? In MotoGP 15, yes, so Andrea, you know he won there, do you believe, or 2016? I might be wrong, it might be 2016. I think it was 2016, I'll stick with 2016. I do remember the video game was absolute carnage going into that corner. People were just ridiculous, and you know what? 6 years on, people are still ridiculous into turn 1 in Austria. For some reason, people love it. They just love going too wide into that corner, just go straight in, and just absolutely clatter the rest of the people. But of course that is where the long lap penalty is in Red Bull Ring, so if we do actually invalidate the laps too many times, we'll be heading over to turn 1 and taking the longer lap penalty. Now at the time of this video, there is no update present, so the actual update for the riders' faces and the update for the long lap penalty being semi-automatic or manual or automatic, whatever you want, has not been implemented just yet. So that'll be the next video, which comes tomorrow. So stay tuned for that one if you're ready for Silverstone. Ooh, home GP for the Doctor, home GP for me. DrAce, of course, and Grant as well. Sergio Garcia, the race winner in Le Mans in the real life, is just ahead of us on track so far. He's 11th, and of course we are in 12th place, 9,000 of a second of the guy who finished 2nd place in Le Mans last time out in real life, of course, as we just invalidate the lap right at the death there. We're going to cross the line, but I'm going to assume that'll be enough of practice for me. Let's move on to qualifying and see how we cope. So the end of free practice, Andrea Mino, the fastest man on track right now, the Saxon Ring winner. John Mcphee in 2nd with Jan Mamaskia in 3rd. And what a result for Andy Farad Izdihar, finishing in 4th place. We have to scroll quite far down to see the World Championship leader, and he is in 14th, which can only mean qualifying 1 for Grant. So welcome back, it is now qualifying time in Q1, and as you know, only 4 riders can make their way up to challenge for pole position in Q2. So here we are in qualifying 1, as you can see on your screen right now, the top 3 riders, Antonelli, Guevara and Sasaki, are the only people going up to Q2 right now. There will be a 4th member, but unfortunately because of the way the timing screen displays, I cannot see who's in 4th place. Now, of course, I do like going into qualifying 1 because it really ramps up the pressure and it really gives that sense of urgency to try and challenge for the best possible positions and try and take the pole position. Now, going into turn 3, we're up by 10,000ths of a second, which is better than Nicola Antonelli's qualifying time as of yet, but do not rest on the laurels just yet and get excited for a potential move up to qualifying 2, because if you move up into the left-hand corner of your screen there, those are brighter skies. Those clouds are moving forwards, which will result in a drier track. So do you continue to push forward now, potentially make a mistake on the wet surface, or do you hang back and potentially just wait for the track to dry? Of course, there is no guarantees. There's no guarantee that this track is going to dry. It could still very well be extremely wet, but we won't know until those 10 minutes or probably 8 minutes have passed. It's a gamble right now, and I'm not sure what to do, but for the time being, I'm going to focus on continuing pushing forward, continue to chuck those lap times in, potentially go back to the pits for a different set of tyres, and hopefully by that time the track would have dried a little bit, so we can sort of push in for those faster lap times, because of course, only the top 4 can move up to qualifying 2, and you better believe that Grant wants to be within that top 4. Turn 9 navigated pretty well. I do like that sort of corner. It sort of drops away from you, so you have to make sure you're braking at the right speed, otherwise you will drop it onto the rumble strip and then potentially onto the green part, which of course will invalidate the lap. But no danger of that happening here, because we cross the line and it is top spot for Grant, a 1:42.703, which is a pretty good improvement already compared to the raining conditions we had in free practice. Grant is on the charge and on the move to qualifying 2. But take a look into the left-hand corner of your screen there. Ricardo Rossi, Ryusuke Yamanaka, Ayumi Sasaki, all 3 men on red sectors, and bear in mind that is quicker than the sector time we have just set, although Grant chucks himself back into the remit and gets ahead in sector 1. A little bit out of shape, a little bit slower into turn 3, but by the sector time itself we did improve. Now as Sasaki has taken another red helmet and another red sector time, teammate to Grant, Romano Fenati, a red sector for him. Dennis on Chu, you know he's good in the wet, another red sector for him. So there are 4 men currently in the qualifying 2 positions. Grant, Antonelli, Guevara and Sasaki could very well be in danger. So who knows what's going to happen here. Exciting times in the qualifying session. Sasaki sets a personal best in Sector 3, so it's not quite enough to dethrone Grant as of yet, but who knows what's going to happen. And you know what? I love it. I love being on the brink of potentially elimination to qualifying 2, because it's difficult to charge through the pack when you're on power setting 1. In Aston we didn't have the best of luck going into power setting 1. Of course we do want to have that oomph and sort of go for it, but at the same time I do prefer the challenge of the power setting 1. So a very solid lap time just ruined by touching the outside of the track, and what is most infuriating about that is not only just invalidated this lap, it has also invalidated the second. So I guess once we cross the line we should head back over to the pits and have a fresh set of rubber to tackle another qualifying session. A gamble has been made. I have decided to wait it out for this track to dry, and this could have been a mistake. It is not quite panic stations just yet, because Ricardo Rossi, Ethan Guevara, teammate Romano Fenati and Grant are all going up to qualifying 2, but Nicolo Antonelli is at 2 slow sectors and 1 personal best. If he could potentially turn that 4th sector, and he's just done it as we spoke about it, I may have made a massive gaffe here. We could have made an absolutely awful mistake. We have a personal best sector into sector 1. Ricardo Rossi still on a ridiculously fast lap time. He's now set the benchmark from a 142 to a 141. So great stuff from the man from Italy. It is now down to Grant. He is the only rider still able to continue and push for a qualifying 2 position. The only man we can dethrone is Nicolo Antonelli as well. We're up by a good chunk of time here, so this could be more than enough. We could be capable of moving up because we only need 42 thousandths of a second to get past Nicolo Antonelli, as Ricardo Rossi's lap has ended in tears as the man from Italy crashes out of the session. But it is all systems go for Grant. You know he has the confidence, he has the temerity to continue to push forward no matter what situation. We have stared into the face of adversity before and we have spat in it, and I think we're going to be doing the same thing today. As long as we can keep everything together, do not invalidate the lap time, make no mistakes from here, and we should be moving on to qualifying 2. Brilliantly executed into turn 9. Finally turn 10 to navigate as well. Super close to the apex. Careful on the exit. Oh, it was close, but we're still going to be doing it. Can we get into qualifying 2? Across the line now. Grant goes into Q2. Brilliant performance. Ricardo Rossi, the fastest man on track, with Ethan Guevara, Grant and Fenati all move up to qualifying 2. So the gamble did indeed pay off in qualifying 1. Grant on board the Husqvarna moves up to qualifying 2. And good to see teammate Romano Fenati also made his way as well. I don't think Adrian Fernandez made it through, but hopefully we got all 3 Husqvarnas into qualifying 2, because that would be a great result. So into qualifying 2, it does the same thing as MotoGP 20 does, which is a little bit annoying. Regardless whether the rain stops in qualifying 1 and qualifying 2 follows by a mere seconds, it does, unfortunately, rain again, let's say. So the track is now wetter than it was by the end of qualifying 1. A little bit annoying, but hey-ho, it is what it is. We'll just use our imagination, we'll just pretend that it rained again immediately after qualifying session 1 ended. So now going into turn 4, a difficult corner to navigate. I mentioned this earlier, and we actually had a little bit of a mistake there, but there is a man ahead of us that I am desperate to get in behind. Ricardo Rossi, the fastest man in Q1, was absolutely unbeatable. He set a 141 with absolute confidence and style, so it is imperative we get in behind him and steal a bit of his glory and steal a bit of his thunder as we'll try and get into his slipstream. Of course, that is the man you want to be following. Any wet weather specialist you want to be following in these sort of sessions. I don't consider myself as a wet weather specialist in MotoGP 21, however I did feel rather confident into Ride 4 and even in MotoGP 20. Although, maybe not in the 500cc's. I struggled a bit in that one as Kevin Schwantz died in Silverstone. By my hands, of course. Now going into turn 10 on the right hand side, of course. Be careful not to invalidate the lap. It's very easy to go onto the rumble strip and beyond. But this is going to be a relatively decent lap as we cross the line now. It's a 142.604 and Grant takes over as provisional pole position leader. Grant, fastest man so far. It's good to see, but I don't think that'll last very long. Ricardo Rossi ahead of us. Sergio Garcia, Pedro Acosta are all going to be chucking in very fast lap times. In fact, Pedro Acosta already into Sector 1 has got a red helmet. Andrea Mino with a personal best. He seems to have our number in Sachsenring. The race, the qualifying, and even the fastest laps, he was just way quicker than we were in every sense of it. I think we did actually beat him with the fastest lap, but he still managed to get the victory as we played second fiddle and the bridesmaid in Sachsenring. Now behind Ricardo Rossi, we're not quite getting the slipstream I desired. We'll continue to chase him, but hopefully we can just stay with him. Even anyone at this point, just to get a few extra couple of tenths just by following, would make a massive difference. So taking a look on the left-hand side of your screen there, Sergio Garcia, Pedro Acosta, Tatsuki Suzuki and Andrea Mino all on fastest sectors right now. That could certainly transition into a pole position for each one of those riders. Right now, we're holding it, we're sitting pretty right now, but we're still not improving. We cannot afford to rest on our laurels yet again. We need to continue to push forward and give it absolutely 110%, and we're not going to improve on this lap. There is a little bit of a concern as already Pedro Acosta takes the top spot. Grant has been demoted to second as Pedro Acosta sets a 142.505. Kaita Toba was just a little bit behind us there by 2 tenths, so he must have set a 142.8. as we get on the right hand side to Sergio Garcia. Now goes into third place. Provisional front row for the Spaniard. Now Andrea Mino, as we mentioned earlier, had my number in Sachsenring, and looks like he's got it again here in Austria as he just dumps me into third place. We're sort of teetering on the edge now of losing the front row spot. Therefore, we must continue to get these fast lap times in now before things get really, really hectic towards the end of this session. Great stuff in qualifying right now. It seems to be rather competitive, and especially in a track like this one, where we're only using power setting 1, it's going to be very difficult in the race, so we need the best possible position we can conjure up in qualifying. So Xavi Artigas, the Spanish rookie, Jeremy Alcoba also dethroning me, now bumping us not from the first row, now into the back of the second row. So we're in 6th place as things stand, but we would only need 3/10 to improve to get back onto the front row. Jeremy Alcoba is actually... he's in 6th place now, so we have had someone else. There's actually Darren Binder chucks in the fastest lap of this session so far, a 1:42.004 for the South African, and the Japanese rider Tatsuki Suzuki moves his way up into 3rd place, so he's on the front row. Great job for the 658 Squadron Racer. Now onto the left-hand side of the tyre, we're getting into a bit of argy-bargy with Ricardo Rossi. That is not going to help either man's qualifying session, but we were following him for a spell, and it didn't really work out. So we had to make the move and get past him, and he wanted to fight back for some reason, probably desperate to get into our slipstream, as we seem to be the man on the charge right now. We're up by 0.3 of a second, so that would probably put us in the front row. A little bit of concern, because John Mcphee has now set the fast lap of the Grand Prix, as Andrea Mino is down, goodness me! Down in the middle of the track there, had to completely abort the lap. So lap 3, a disaster for Grant as he had to pull away, and we can't even enter the pits from here, so we're going to have to waste another lap time. So back from the pits with less than 4 minutes remain. 2 brand new Dunlop tyres are in that Husqvarna. Let's see what we can conjure up here. Binder, Mcphee, Rodrigo on the front row for the time being. Sergio Garcia has just moved himself up to God knows where because you can't see it on the timing screen on the left hand side. But it is all systems go for us now. Brand new tyres, traction control 3, power setting 1, it's what we like. Keep an eye on the Petronas Sprinter boys. Of course, Darren Binder and John Mcphee both on fast sector times. Darren Binder could well and truly be improving his lap time up to possibly a 1:41 such as such, because he has already got 2 red sectors. John Mcphee equally both got 2 red sectors. Grant on a personal best sector right now. We're 33,000 of a second from taking 13th place from Jeremy Alcoba, but that is not really where we're interested in right now. Starting from 14th could be a disaster, and speaking of disasters, the Argentine Gabriel Rodrigo has crashed out of the session. He will not be improving, and his front row spot is well and truly up for grabs. Grant into the second sector, we are up by 6/10, or up by a 1/10 of a second. Personal best up by 6/10 of a second, but into the second sector, we're actually fastest. It's now an orange sector as Darren Binder sets a 1:41.524. Was that John Mcphee who just went down? And we've invalidated the lap! Oh my goodness. Absolute mayhem. Such tension here in Austrian Q2. Binder, Mcphee, Rodrigo is your current front row. Grant is not able to make a single impression to get away from 14th spot. Jeremy Alcoba on a personal best sector. We have one chance, and Pedro Acosta's down in the final corner, again making me sit up a little bit, but we can't afford to go off the track and waste another lap. Sorry, Pedro, but I'm not even going to see how you're doing. We have to cross the line here and give it our best shot. So, of course, this lap time won't matter, but it's still potentially a replication of what could happen in the next lap time if we maintain our composure. Do not invalidate the lap. Stay focused and give it our best possible lap time yet. We would have had a 1:41.631, which is just enough to take second place, right behind the excessively fast Darren Binder. The South African is on an absolute charge here today. Fast in practice session, fast in qualifying. He is ready to take pole position. We know the South African has to have a great result here today, or at least tonight at 8 PM in the race. We need to start as well. We need to start very well, actually. If we want to be competing in Austria with power setting 1, it is imperative we start on the front row of the grid. Now into turn 4, a little bit out of shape there, but we navigated it well. Coming out of the corner, onto the rumble strip, or close enough to onto the white line. Up by 0.7 of a second for a personal best sector. It is enough to convert into a 21,000 second lead ahead of Darren Binder. Tatsuki Suzuki at the death gets himself up onto the front row of the grid. We need to do the same. In fact, we don't need to do the same. We need to improve it. We need to do even better than Tatsuki Suzuki has done. Kaija Toba behind us on a personal best sector as well. We're up by 1.2 on a personal best lap, so that could be enough to get into the 141.5 or below, up by 2.5 tenths of a second. Could this be the lap to put Grant in pole position from Q1 to Q2? Could be a dreamlike start for Grant in Austria. And to turn 10, we're up by a massive ton. We're going to be crossing the line any moment now. Full acceleration across the line. Grant goes top. Grant's done it, up by 5 tenths of a second for the British rider. Magnificent finish. What a lap from the British rider. The World Championship leader has done it again. He has proven why he's probably the best qualifier in Moto3 right now. And we will start from pole position tonight at 8 PM. So guys, as always, I really hope you enjoyed this one. It has been a magnificent qualifying session, and I hope you're ready for a terrific race tonight. So guys, thanks for watching as always. Like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you at 8 PM. Stay tuned and stay ace, and I will see you later on. Ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.